guys, so today is a very special video. I have my guest Lemar. He's a pro bodybuilder, and the reason why is because I want to get different perspectives on different people's expertise, so that you guys can learn and kind of form your own based off what other people say. So Lemar, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, a bit of your background, what you've accomplished, why did you want to start bodybuilding, and who your inspirations, all of that.
Okay.
Give us a brief intro.
Well, bodybuilding, I've been bodybuilding for 4 years now. Before that, I used to do CrossFit, just stay athletic otherwise. I do have a background in basketball and football. I didn't have time for it no more, so I guess the gym was always the easy route of staying active, you know, just on your own time. And I decided to do a competition as a personal challenge.
Okay.
This was 4 years ago, and I placed second in my first show. So it was
good.
The feeling was pretty nice to come second in your first show, from doing something you just wanted to do as a challenge. You know, it really wasn't to place first. You know, I didn't have like that like mentality. Obviously, I wanted to place first, but it wasn't like a competitive thing at that moment.
And that's when you got the taste. You're like, oh
yeah, exactly. I had some big names that came up to me. Big names, guys who have been Mr. Olympia in the past, and guys who trained with Arnold, like Claude Giroux.
Okay.
He's from Montreal. I don't know if you guys know him. He was a master Mr. Olympia. He went up against Dexter Jackson and big names in the bodybuilding world.
That's cool.
So that actually came up to me and be like, man, like. I didn't have the size, and I knew that. Like I was small back then, but they came up to me and they're like, "Man, the way of your symmetry and your muscle bellies, like you have, if you stay in bodybuilding and decide to grow, then it would definitely suit you a lot, you know." So all these big names came up to me and like, you know, telling me I have something special, and I placed second in the first show. So I decided to just, you know, capitalize on my strengths and give it a go. From there on, it just became a passion. So I just kept trying to build and kept trying to be better, and as of then, the success just came. Last year, I did my first national show. National level show is like the biggest level before the pro levels.
Yeah.
So I did my first national show last year in 2017, and I placed second for my first national show. And then I end up winning this year, so that's where I got my pro card.
Congratulations! You got your pro card.
Yeah, I just got my pro card.
Nice. How's that feel?
Well, I don't feel any different because, you know, I still didn't do a pro show yet, and I have big goals coming up to my first pro show. I have the World Championships in Spain in November.
Okay.
So
you got some prep to do.
Yeah, I have some work to do. I have to get some broader shoulders and
it's all about symmetry, body.
Yeah, symmetry, size also, but the symmetry is definitely number one over size, because you can definitely be a smaller guy and beat bigger guys.
Really?
Based off your symmetry and your muscle definition.
Okay.
And I have won shows before, beat guys who are bigger than me.
Wow.
So I'm really not intimidated by muscular size, you know.
Cool. Well, actually, today what the topic was mostly was building muscle. So you said yourself you were smaller before during that first competition, and the guy said, "Hey, you have potential to get bigger." So then you put your mind to it, and then you really focused on the size.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about that, since that seems to be something that you're really good at. And a lot of guys struggle with, and that's a very frequently asked question. So let's start with all right, building muscle. All right, you're in the gym, you're doing some curls, and then another guy comes up to you, probably happens a lot, and he says, "So how do I get big like you?" In a very brief sentence or two, how would you answer to that?
You gotta take care of your nutrition. That's number one. Most of the times it's not because of the way people are training, but it's the way they're eating.
Okay.
They're not necessarily eating to grow. And, you know, it's pretty cliche because everyone says the same thing, but it's that simple.
If everyone says the same thing, at some point it's the truth.
It's that simple, yeah. And most bodybuilders, that's what they'll tell you. They'll tell you you gotta eat. And it's not necessarily just eating anything, eating McDonald's or eating mass gainers or anything like that.
So not shit food.
No. It's definitely putting your diet together, having the perfect macros and the perfect meal timing and the perfect quantities per meal. You know, it's also supplementation. We're talking about supplements you get from food, but also extras that you get from supplements.
Okay.
But it also have a big role.
Effect.
Yeah.
So what would you say would be the top, the most important supplements that you would also get from your food, but you should also supplement with in order to maximize muscle size?
Definitely protein. Protein. Because the thing in protein that's one of the most important is actually leucine. It's an amino acid found in every single protein, meat protein.
Yeah.
Maybe not plant-based protein, which is why I'm kind of against vegetarians trying to be bodybuilders.
Okay.
Plant-based proteins have a lot less amino acid buildup.
Okay.
They may contain a lot of essential amino acids, but it wouldn't contain enough branched chain amino acids. And if you're trying to get branched chain amino acids that are vegetarian or vegan friendly, it would cost you an arm and a leg.
Okay.
So,
so just to go off that a bit, I myself am vegan. I don't know if you knew. From what I've heard, from what I've seen anyways in my research, is a lot of protein comes from plants, right? So plants will have complete amino acid structures within them. Yeah. So I think that's sort of kind of a misconception.
It will have the complete. It will not have enough of the branch chains.
Now that's something that to look into. Yes. Yeah. So it does have a complete amino acid profile because protein does come from plants. But to get enough, you should probably supplement with it, like you say.
With the branch chains. And you do have supplements, like I said, you do have BCAAs that are vegan or vegetarian friendly.
Yes, of course.
But it's pretty expensive if you get a good quality.
If you get a lot of it, supplements could be expensive. So like protein, BCAA. Yeah. What about creatine?
Creatine is very good for mass building also. But as for number one, it would definitely be branch chains.
Okay.
Leucine especially. It's kind of like the trigger of all the amino acids. It is the trigger, the number one trigger to start the building of muscle fibers. So you definitely want to get a lot of leucine in your diet.
Get that leucine, guys. So you were talking also a bit about how people eat their food, not necessarily the style of training, because like I said before, everyone has a different style of training. You can do high volume, low volume, high reps, low reps. As long as you have that progressive overload in there, you will be able to build some size, right? So it's more about the nutrition and how to really structure your meals and your plate. So how do you go about that?
Exactly. Well, it's about staying anabolic, right? If you're not anabolic, then you're catabolic. So balancing your nutrients at the time of your peak efforts is very important. Around your workouts, you want to have the most calories because that's when you're being exhausted the most. So the biggest meals would be around your workout. Pre-workout meal and post-workout meal are essentially the most important meals of the day.
Because that's during your workout, that's when you're most catabolic. You're breaking down literally the muscle. So you have to replenish it with nutrients. Exactly.
And throughout the rest of the day, breakfast or before bed, you still need essential vitamins and stuff. But the most important will be around your workouts. Bedtime and early morning time. Usually you don't need as much carbs as around your workout because of energy wise. So I would stay low on the carbs and the fats throughout those times.
So would you still consume like a protein shake before bed?
All meals.
That's when your growth hormones kick in and everything?
Well, that's it. But all meals should have a protein source.
Yes.
That's the
protein. So on average, how much grams of protein do you consume a day? I know that a lot of people say 1 gram per pound.
Yeah.
Some people say 1 kilogram per pound.
It depends on the time of the year and if I have a show coming up.
Okay.
But usually cutting for a show, I'd go like 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. So I weigh like 200, so roughly 300 when I'm cutting.
Okay.
And when I'm building, roughly 200, a gram per pound.
Okay, so you have less protein
Less
when you're
protein
building,
when I'm building.
because when you're cutting, you're catabolic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So a lot of people think that when you're bulking, you need more protein, but it's actually the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite.
Yeah.
Because your calories are coming from carbs essentially and fats when you're bulking.
Yeah.
But when you're cutting, you want most of your calories to come from protein. In order to even burn more. Sorry.
Yeah.
In order to even burn more energy, because by breaking down protein, you're actually burning more.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes
calories.
energy for your body to digest and break down all the macronutrients that you
Yeah,
that you
exactly.
eat. Exactly. So, okay. Now, in terms of the actual training, now I know there's many different styles of training that work, but for you, what's your training like? Is it classic bodybuilding, powerlifting?
Yeah. In order to be a bodybuilder, you kind of have to train like a
bodybuilder.
like a bodybuilder.
Yes.
So the powerlifting part, I'm very against that.
Okay.
When bodybuilders try to train with the powerlifting style.
Why?
You won't necessarily develop on your weaknesses by doing those heavy lifting, and it's more dangerous for a bodybuilder.
Okay.
If you're trying to build your body in a certain way, then powerlifting maybe as like an off-season thing here and there if ever you want to build up some strength in some areas, but to really maximize your growth, it's better to isolate or do some compound movements now and then.
So you do a lot of isolation movements to get that symmetry in the muscles.
Exactly, because it's kind of like a canvas, right? So you really want to work your body in specific areas.
Yeah. So like you just told me before, you want to grow your, cap your delts a little more, so work more on the rear delts and the side delts.
Yeah, exactly.
And focus more on those movements
Exactly.
instead of doing just overhead press to get those. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what works best for you. Do you do so?
And a lot of negatives.
Yes, but that also builds strength. So you say in terms of working out like a bodybuilder. So what does that mean? Does that mean you do a muscle a day for like the whole week? So let's say chest one day, back the other day. Then you'll do like slow and controlled. What's training like a bodybuilder to you?
Well, it's mainly isolations. You do have some important compounds, like I said, bent over rows, bench presses, squats. So you do have some powerlifting type movements inside. But what we'll do is we'll do more reps, not focus on the
higher reps.
Not the 3 or 5 reps. We'll go more to the 8, 12, sometimes even 20 reps, depending on the movement and depending on your workout regimen. But definitely focus on the negatives on these movements. Not too many swinging. You do have some people that swing whenever they're overloading, but like I said, it could be structured for you to actually overload and swing. So for each person, depending on their plans, you might see some swinging in the bodybuilding world, and some people won't understand that. But if ever you follow that person, you'll notice that they do control some movements and then they swing in some movements.
Especially at the end.
Exactly.
So
the swinging has its place.
It has its place, guys. Okay. And so your schedule, let's say you work out 5 times a day, do you work out once every 2 weeks? Like, how's that?
It all depends person to person, but me personally, I'm a natural bodybuilder. To work out twice a day would be pretty much taxing.
It would be hell.
I just worked out and I'm pooped. I would probably need to sleep for 4 hours and then train after another muscle group if I can, but that's probably if I haven't worked for 2 days maybe. You need your recovery time. Recovery is a big thing.
Recovery is key.
For bodybuilding. That's where you definitely grow. So the twice a day thing I wouldn't necessarily do. My workout time vary between an hour to an hour 30. Nothing more than that. Because you become very catabolic, especially training with the intensity and the load that you train at as a bodybuilder. It's pretty taxing. It does drain you more calories, but also at a certain point your results start to diminish after. Yeah, exactly. After an hour and a half, it's just overkill. Overtraining is real. A lot of people don't believe in overtraining, but as a natural bodybuilder, trust me,
it's tough.
You have to listen to your body.
Bodybuilding is not easy.
No.
So when you're bulking or like trying to get size, do you do any cardio? Because it is catabolic.
Yeah, you do cardio.
You do cardio.
And cardio, it's not as catabolic as we usually think.
This depends what kind of cardio.
Exactly. Like if you're bulking, you don't want to do any type of HIIT cardio, high intensity intervals. You don't want to be doing high intensity cardio either. You want to do something at a max moderate. So you want to do a slow pace to moderate cardio, not for more than half an hour.
So it would be your go-to cardio exercise?
It's 10 minutes. After my workout, very slow pace. And that's only for recovery wise.
Okay.
But the cardio is still there, right?
Yeah, it's still there. And even when you're working out, the cardio is still there, right? You're doing like
exactly super
sets, a bunch of stuff
yeah, definitely.
For sure.
But it's mainly on the in season when you're cutting that cardio. It's higher than the usual.
So would you say the hardest part of bodybuilding is bulking or cutting? Would it be getting the size or leaning down?
To be honest, the entire sport itself is not easy.
No, that's true.
They all have its ups and downs, When you're bulking, it's diet-wise, you have more leniency. But also it's overkill, right? You're trying to go heavy, you're trying to explode, it's so it's hard. I would say it's harder weightlifting sessions than when you're cutting. I don't know, maybe it's just me. When I'm cutting, I tend to have more energy in the gym. I think it's because I become so carb sensitive that when I do get my carbs, it's like a boost of energy when I'm cutting. So I am stronger when I'm cutting, actually. And a lot of people.
That's rare, yeah.
A lot of people, they think maybe because of the coaches they have and their nutrient setup, that they don't experience this. But when you're cutting and you're insulin sensitive and you're getting your carbs, usually you're supposed to grow even while in a deficit. Because I grew every single time I'm in a cut. And people think it's impossible to grow in a cut, but no, if your macronutrients are set up properly with your training, you can grow in a cut.
Your body is going to adapt to the stimulus you give it, and it has enough recovery, even in a slight deficit, you will still build muscle.
Yeah, you will build muscle, and you'll shed all the fat. So
best of both worlds.
Exactly. I don't believe in the try to lose weight fast and just do an hour cardio every day. I really don't believe in that. My coach doesn't either, and that's why I love him as a coach.
So you are a pro bodybuilder, and you have a coach.
Yeah. Funny story.
Everyone needs a coach.
Funny story. I had my coach in the beginning for the first 2 years of my my bodybuilding lifestyle, and after that I decided to be solo. So I coached myself for the past 2 years up to the pro level. I recently go to see my coach.
You go back.
I went back to him and I said, my goal has been achieved. I've become pro on my own, and now I need your coaching again to try to compete on pro levels. So I just went back.
So now you got pro. So what's next for Lemar? What is the next kind of thing you want to achieve? What are you going for?
Well, I want to make a mark, and so far in Canada, there's one guy, some of you viewers may know him, Aaron Legend. He's basically the best natural bodybuilder in Canada at the moment. He has like 30,000 followers. He's been to the Olympia once. He didn't win the Olympia, but he's been there as a natural athlete. That's something, So my goal right now is just to try to top that. I want to be the best natural bodybuilder in Canada.
And there's a thing with the natural. You go to competitions. And do you hear locker room talk about other competitors you're competing with taking SARMs or steroids or any of that sort? Do you definitely hear of that in mid-competition?
Yeah, definitely.
Even in natural.
Most of the natural shows that I've done, there are some competitors who were taking SARMs. And the reason why they get away with it is mainly because they don't get tested. In natural shows, testing costs a lot of money, so they can't test every competitor. So what they do is that they test the overall winners.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not boasting or anything, but I always end up to be the overall winner. so the other competitors, they don't really get tested, you know. So
Yeah.
But in all fairness and honesty, it doesn't really matter.
Because you still win against them, right?
Yeah, but not just that. It's as a professional, when you do become professional, there is no such thing as natural bodybuilding, because all the shows professionally, they're not tested. So whether you're natural or the other guys on stuff, it doesn't change.
At that point, it's whoever wins.
At that point, it's just your personal choice whether you want to be natural or not.
Yeah.
So that's the way I saw even my amateur coming up to now. That's the way I looked at it, and I didn't really care like who's taking what. And I did multiple.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did multiple open shows versus people who were taking steroids, because open shows aren't tested. I did 2 so far. I did one. The most recent was in Brazil, the Arnold Classics. I placed 15 out of 30, which is still amazing. It's an open show, the Arnold Classics. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And a few years ago, 2 years ago, I did an open show in Quebec, and I actually placed first out of like 16 guys. And these guys were huge. I have the photos to show. These guys were mad.
But like you said, I mean, it's also a skill with bodybuilding. You need to do the posing right.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do a lot of time on posing. Your presence, the symmetry, right? So
symmetry.
Lloyd's will help you get big.
Yeah.
But then the rest is up to you. So it still takes some skill.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about it. I think we got some good pointers on how to build real muscles, how to get jacked.
Yeah.
And so this is Lemar Martin, Pro Bodybuilder. A lot to come.
Yeah.
All right. So
definitely.
keep posted. Follow this guy. And that's it, man. That's it.
Thanks, man.
No problem.